really am just an ordinary kid, or whatever that means. Anyway, like lots of other kids my age, I love video games, playing my guitar, taking my dog for walks, playing with my friends, going fishing, and finally having fun at school. Right, well, maybe not every 12-year-old likes school, so I might just be on my own there, but you get the idea. But as well as the usual kid things, I have had the opportunity to do some things in my life that other kids my age don't usually get to experience. I'm the founder of Sam's Popcorn, a professional online popcorn retailing business. My business makes and delivers flavoured popcorn to customers all over Australia. So far this financial year, my business has sold more than 20,000 Australian dollars worth of popcorn. Yep, I've sold a lot of popcorn. Once Sam's Popcorn started being profitable, I started thinking about how my business might help others in my community. I found out about an organisation called the Childhood Cancer Association, which supports kids who have cancer and their families. I wanted to help, so I created a fundraising program called Kids for Kids. There are lots of children like me who want to help other kids, but don't know where to start. Kids for Kids gives students and schools an opportunity to help children with cancer by selling Sam's Popcorn pails. I donate 40% of the sale price from my specially marked Sam's Popcorn pails to the Childhood Cancer Association, and that money goes directly to help the children with cancer and their families. As a result of my fundraising efforts, last year I was awarded the Humanity Award by the Fred Hollows Foundation. Anyway, they're an Australian charity who's working to end avoidable blindness in many countries throughout the world. Not bad for a kid on the autism spectrum, right? I donated my 5,000 Australian dollars of reward money back to the Fred Hollows Foundation. And just last week, I travelled to Vietnam, Da Nang, to see for myself the amazing work that the foundation does to help children as part of the Vietnam Eye Care Project, which is the project that I donated my $5,000 award money to. Around last month, I was lucky to have my business and fundraising efforts recognised once again when I was announced as the youngest ever winner of the leadership category of the South Australian Young Achievers Awards, open to young people up to 29 years of age. I was actually the youngest ever category winner over the award's 30 years of history. I was also given the People's Choice Award voted on by the public, and I received 25% of the votes out of 33 finalists who were chosen out of thousands of nominees. So you could say that I'm doing okay for a 12-year-old, and I guess I would agree with that. But it wasn't always that way though. My mum and dad tell me they first thought that I might be on the autism spectrum from the time I was around 6 months old. As I got older, their suspicions were confirmed when I wasn't able to play properly with other kids, and I became fixated on playing the same game the same way, and when I couldn't cope to any change to a routine. They also couldn't stop me licking the walls, so I guess you could say that I had some sensory processing difficulties. I also didn't speak until I was 3, although since then my parents remind me I haven't really stopped. My parents tried their best to manage my behaviour by understanding my need for routine, creating social stories with me, and pretending to fill me up with petrol each time they wanted me to walk somewhere. Otherwise I wouldn't move. They also spent hours with me staring at maps, adding together the number of vegetables in our shopping basket to create algebraic questions such as what is 1 potato plus 2 broccoli, or learning about the history of Easter egg decoration, depending on whatever I was fixated on at the time. But with school came a set of new problems. I struggled having to touch things that felt weird, and I couldn't understand why the kids in my class didn't want to talk about my favourite dinosaur game over and over and over again. Seriously, what was wrong with them? I couldn't accept that sometimes rules would be broken, and phrases such as hop to it and you'd better pull your socks up were supposedly very clear, but didn't actually make any sense at all. To be honest, most of the kids and their parents thought I was pretty strange. That's okay. I thought they were kind of strange too. Other kids would make fun of me, and to try and make friends, I used to give them things like my lunch, my money, and my treasured sticker collection that I used to have. Soon I realised those kids were my real friends, and that made me really sad. It also made my parents sad too, but they tried hard not to let me see how worried they were. After a while, I changed schools. This was the best thing that could have happened. At my new school, I had lots of opportunities to make new friends, and my teachers and other adults who worked with me gave me new strategies and ideas to help me. More importantly, for the first time, I had people other than my parents around me who accepted me just as I am. I didn't feel like I needed to lick walls anymore. When I was about 9, I started telling my parents that I wanted to start a business. After all, didn't everybody? At first, I think my parents hoped this was a crazy idea that I would forget about eventually, but I kept on pestering them for months until they had no choice but to let me have gold. Although I didn't know it at the time, my parents thought that it might be a good idea for me to find out that things were not always as easy as they seemed. To be honest, at the time I had very little resilience, and they thought it was about time I learned to fail. Due to the fact that right now I'm talking at an international conference about the popcorn business, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen how they thought it would. They told me that if I was serious about being a business owner, I would need to do lots of work. Together we made a list of the things I needed to do before I could start selling popcorn to the public. They just let me get on with it and didn't give me much help, which really sped things up. Thanks, Mum. Mum's just over there.
Thanks.
Remember, Mum and Dad thought this was a bit of a pipe dream and something I would forget about after a few weeks. But if my parents thought they wouldn't have to hear about my plans, they were dreaming. They listened and answered questions whenever they could. But they'd probably tell you that they didn't always know the answers. That's okay. And maybe the people we spoke to knew the answers to my questions either, because at the time I was a 10-year-old who was trying to launch an official popcorn business. So I kept working hard and I got closer and closer to my dream of opening my business. I'm not sure my parents thought I would follow through with my plans. However, they patiently supervised me while I perfected my cannibal popcorn recipe. It only took 50 goes at it. I'm not joking, it actually took 50 trials. As you can tell, I really wanted to get it right. My parents probably had an inkling that things were becoming a little bit more serious when they opened their front door to find a council inspector arriving to do a health and safety check so I could legally sell popcorn to the public. I imagine they were a little surprised due to the fact that I hadn't told them. And also, until then, it hadn't occurred to me that kids my age don't usually arrange that type of appointments. Element, as I call it. I started selling my popcorn to friends and family at full price. They shared my popcorn with their friends and family, who in turn started to buy direct from me as well. As you can see, it really was important to get that recipe right. To begin with, I sold my popcorn in sandwich bags from the supermarket, and I printed homemade labels. I used the profits I made to buy popcorn kernels, bags, and labels in bulk. And with word of mouth, my customer base expanded until now, where I sell popcorn to customers all over Australia, including Tasmania. My business was on its way, and it has continued to grow to the point where I am today, where I can afford to donate some of my profits to help others. However, I don't want to give the impression that being a popcorn entrepreneur on the autism spectrum was all smooth sailing. In fact, it had quite an impact on what I was doing. When I first started, I often got hung up on things having to be just right, and it was making me take a long time to prepare all of my popcorn bags, because I spent a lot of time making sure the labels were straight and in the exact same position every time. So I made a label template, which I've shown here to help. What happens is that the template is a simple design, where I put the clear bag in the template, and I placed a sticker over one of the text and marked lines. And you can also see how full and tasty the bag looks because it's clear. Anyway, the template allowed me to maintain my high standards, and it sped up how fast I could label my bags. I also often had trouble seeing the big picture. I would focus on one aspect of the of my business, but when you're the boss, there are many areas of the business that need your attention, especially if you're also the only worker. So I started using visual cues and schedules to help remind me of a process or a task that needed my attention. I always took my business seriously, and some might say a little bit too seriously. I will admit that my parents found it a little disconcerting when I started referring to the dining room as the admin area and the lounge as the dispatch center. Well, those are the official names of those rooms, at least in our house. And you can probably guess what they thought when I moved a rather large photocopier into our entrance hallway. And that's just half of it there. However, with the benefit of hindsight, my somewhat naive belief that I would be successful meant I operated Sam's Popcorn like a professional business from the very start. And it didn't take my parents too long to get on board. Although I should admit that they tell me now that my offer to pay them $50 every 2 weeks made them laugh without me knowing, of course. As my business really took off, I started getting requests for different media interviews. For me, this was very stressful, and I would revert to repetitive behaviours such as flapping and the classic behaviour of licking a wall. It helped me relax, but when the repetitive behaviour got too much worse, I eased the feelings by holding a small wooden fidget toy to meetings, and I would also make sure I was properly prepared for the meeting. As a result, soon businesses and entire schools such as this one were requesting my talks. Now I talk to large groups of people like you guys all the time. Not bad, given I didn't speak at all until I was 3. Before I finish, I would just like to talk a little bit more on how I view being on the autism spectrum. So, I'm pretty sure that the publicity I've received, and in Australia, is not because I'm a person on the spectrum who has found success, but because I'm a young entrepreneur who is doing what I can to make my community and the world a better place. At least I hope that's why I'm getting all the recognition I am. Nevertheless, I think it is important to say that in my view, if I hadn't been on the autism spectrum, I don't think my business would have been so successful. I know I can be sensitive, motivated, and focused, and I can also be stubborn, driven, intense, and single-minded. Who knows if I would have been successful if I was not on the spectrum? I truly believe that it is important for people to see that being on the autism spectrum really can be useful if you allow yourself to try. I know my parents worried a lot when I was younger. They worry a lot less now. Being on the autism spectrum really has made me the person I am. And if I'm honest, I'm pretty happy with my life just the way I am. So thank you for listening to what I have to say.
Thank you, Sam. I'm sure there are questions, but please hold it back till later. Thank you, Sam, for sharing us.